So I'm gonna be honest, whenever people talk about like all the old Pokemon games and just say how much better they are than the new games, I usually tend to hop off of that pretty quickly. Not that I think the old games are really bad, so to speak, just that I don't really relate that much. Like, usually to me, they're just experiences to kind of catch up on their franchise, just to play stuff and stuff. But what I found is that there's one game that just seems to be such a blatant exception to this, and the one where I'm like, oh yeah, no, this was like a complete masterpiece, was honestly Pokemon Black and White. So in this video, I'll be discussing why that game has just aged so beautifully for me and how it's just stuck with me as like genuinely like the game where I'm like, yeah, now I get why you guys like the old game so much, because I genuinely think that game's like a masterpiece, honestly. So I figured this is less of a like, I'm not really being talking about like the gym battles or the story or the lore or like the fighting and stuff or the post game. This isn't so much to talk about that. This is just purely about like art direction, style, game presentation, music, all that stuff. So if you're interested in that kind of talk about Pokemon Black and White, then feel free to stick around because that's mostly what I'll be talking about in this video. So I guess we'll get started. I think this is probably the most obvious one, but I guess we'll start here just because I feel like this is a good place to start. But the music for the game is honestly just phenomenal. I don't know, it's just so distinct in a way. Like, whenever I listen to, like, music and stuff, or you kind of hear stuff, like, right away, it just clicks, like, at me. Like, is this from Black and White? Is this from Unova? And it usually always is, in my opinion. Like, it's just such a distinct style of music, and it's so, like, iconic and noticeable. Like, just because of how much, I watch YouTube stuff, you kind of don't realize how much people use specifically Black and White music in their like videos as like background music, and once you do, you're like, oh my god, this shit's everywhere. Like, I'll put some samples of like some of like the soundtracks I'm thinking of, but like I'll get into those right now. But like, there's so much just like iconic music baked into the soundtrack, and just to realize like, oh wait, this is where it's from is like always just a shocker to me. And just the fact that I usually guess like off my gut, like this has to be from Black and White, and I'm usually right, or at least like kind of close. But I think another thing too is I have so much of like the Black and White music just downloaded on my device and uploaded to like my music app. Like, it's not even funny. Like, I tend to like download stuff, but no game has as much music saved uploaded somewhere as much as Black and White does. Like, it's just genuinely kind of impressive. I think the only other one that really comes close to just how much I listen to the soundtrack on this one, I think, is probably Sword and Shield. And I didn't care that much for Sword and Shield. I just think it has a good soundtrack. But Black and White just has so much like iconic music and just so many good soundtracks to it. Like, in my opinion, like I think Black and White probably has like the best Elite Four soundtrack in the game, in like the whole franchise, no competition. Like, that shit's so good. Oh my god, it's so good. Like, I was listening, I'm like, oh my god, wait, like this is so good. What else? Even like, the samples I played, the trainer battle music is ridiculously good. Even with like the remix they did for the DLC for Scarlet and Violet was really good, but like just the original is like very, very good. There's definitely some others, but I want to wait till I get into like some other stuff just because it has to do with the presentation of the game. I don't really want to jump ahead of myself. So I think the next place to go would probably be the art style and stuff. So we'll go there next. And I don't think it's a hot take at all to say that this game is just honestly gorgeous. Like, visually, this game looks so good. Just, the art style is kind of what comes to mind first. Like, I know Pokemon did do pixel art, especially with their older games for a while, that was the leading thing. But even with, like, Gen 4, like, I know they're kind of experimenting with, like, the 3D stuff and, like, putting 3D models in with, like, the 2D stuff. Gen 5 was just, like, bitch please, and they just fucking ran with that shit. And, like, oh my god, it looks so cool. Like, all, like, I'm thinking of, like Skyro Bridge. I don't keep mentioning that. Like, I mentioned in my last video, I mentioned Castelia City, Ends Castle, all that stuff. Like, I don't want to talk too much because I'd rather wait to talk about like those, But just the way this game beautifully meshes 2D and 3D looks so cool. Like, especially with like the battles and like how like they kind of like, how do I say it? It just feels like 3D to a degree, but they're also like 2D, and it's such a cool balance in my opinion. And especially for what the DS was able to do, they work so good on like the hardware. Like, you just push it to like what it could do, even with like all the cutscenes and stuff, like the cinematic stuff with like, I'm thinking of the cutscene at the end of like the game with like Reshiram or Zekrom and stuff. Like, that stuff is so cool. Oh my god, like, it's just so impressive in my opinion how they kind of balance like all these like, like your character is 2D and like your Pokemon are 2D, but they're in a 3D world, it kind of feels like. And I think that's such a cool like way to present the game, and it just looks super, super good in my opinion. And even I think just compared to like the newer games, like I know Scarlet and Violet, like I like that game, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't really praise the graphics. I think it doesn't look that good. And here, like it's just such a difference in like aesthetic, in my opinion. You know, like I think that's kind of where the cost of like trying to chase like graphical limitations and like what the game can do just kind of ruins your game to a degree. Not always, but just 3D stuff is gonna keep going while 2D stuff tends to be more stagnant, it seems. So. Well, Black and White's still going to look absolutely timeless probably, another 10, 15 years from now. Scarlet and Violet's going to look extremely dated and, like, borderline shovelware in probably 5, 10 years. And that's just kind of how things work, like, I don't know. It's just a shame, though. Like, I know people wish, like, we get older, like, newer stuff. Like, I kind of wish they'd go for, like, a middle ground of, like, I don't mind 3D stuff, but I also prefer when they were kind of keeping stuff, like, 2D-ish. I guess the main difference, like, I think ZA was a step in the right direction, kind of, sort of, hopefully, but I don't know what they're going to do with Generation 10. I don't know if my expectations are that high, just because I prefer to, like, under-expect, and then, if something's good, and if it's whatever, then, well, my expectations weren't that to begin with, but, I don't say that to be pessimistic, just, I don't want to overspeak anything, but, Gen 5 looks so good. Like, that game just kept taking me by surprise by just how much effort and just detail there was to everything. And I think presentation is probably what even motivated to make this video, just because that game completely shocked me. So I'm gonna go there next, I think, just because that's like the big thing here. So I think the single thing that just sold me on this game is just, yeah, this is something special, was honestly just the way the game presented itself. At least in the early game, like, I was kind of struggling to stick with the game and, like, kind of coming back to it, and I kept chipping my way through it, and I got through the second gym leader, and I kind of went through, like, the forest and stuff, but then, like, the minute you walk out on, like, the bridge, and then Skyar Bridge, and that music starts playing, and it just kind of turns into, like, a presentation. Like, that was honestly impressive to me. Like, I was like, oh my god, this is really something special, isn't it? And then, like, you walk off the bridge and you go into, like, the little transition building, but then you enter, like, the city, Castelia City. That was honestly just like, oh my god, like, this game really is something special. I was just completely fascinated by, like, how, like, they kind of took, like, making a city, but then, like, turning into something, like, kind of small scale to accommodate the DS, but also, like, feel big in a way. Like, it just felt so, like, charming to me. The music, like, the vibe of it, all the people walking around, like those guys who are kind of just dancing around, but then you kind of go and meet up with them. That one guy in the alley who, like, jumps out and gives you, like, a flashlight or something. Is it a flashlight? I don't know, it's something, but he gives you, like, some kind of item or something. There's just so much charm to the city, and, like, I guess going from, like, considering the game kind of starts off, like, really small scale, but then you end up in, like, this huge city was just such a big shift to me, and it just felt so impressive that the game managed to deliver it so beautifully. I know Skyar Bridge realistically is mostly just like a presentation in of itself, but it just looks so gorgeous, and like the music, the camera shots, it looks so good, it looks so cool. Just even considering the graphics aren't really that impressive by modern standards, it just feels impressive for what it was doing 10-15 years ago, and just still feels like extremely, like, well presented in the present. And I think that's extremely impressive for a game to be able to hold up that well. I think the other big thing, too, which I keep coming back to, is right at the end of the game with N and the castle and the Elite Four. Like, you do the Elite Four, but then, like, all of a sudden, like, a castle just comes out of the ground. It's like, oh my god, like, what's happening, And, like, the way they kind of tease you with, like, that little, like, soundtrack that plays for, like, each gym leader's, like, ace Pokemon for, like, each battle, but then, like, you get, like, ganged up on Team Plasma and, like, the building, but then, like, they bring back all the gym leaders, and like, the music just starts playing, and you're like, oh my god, like, this is insane. Like, that was so charming to me. What else? I think the big one for me was probably when you actually battle, like, Reshiram and Zekrom. Like, that was so fucking cool to me. Like, I remember sitting there and, like, the music starts playing, but it starts off, like, a little slow, that soundtrack, and then it just picks up immediately, and, like, my jaw's on the floor. Like, I think I sat there for, like, 30 seconds, like, oh my god, this is insane. Like, no other, like, legendary battle has really caught me off guard of, like, oh my god, this is extremely cool, and just feels really, really, really well presented like that did, and it was just so charming to me. Like, I kind of just sat there for, like, 30 seconds and was like, oh my god, like, I was just blown away. Like, it was so cool. I don't know. It was so cool, Even, like, a lot of the way the game presented itself was just so, just so, like, impressive to me, I'm just thinking of, like, the Ferris wheel with, like, what's it, with, I believe in Bossa City with the, like, the roller coaster and stuff, or the, even the gym battle, or not the gym battles, the gym challenges felt pretty cool. I'm thinking of that one you do with the 8th gym with, like, the dragons and stuff. Even I think Driftveils with Clay, with, like, the I think it was, like, Elevate or something, I don't remember. Even, like, the one with the cannons, that one wasn't so much unique as much, it was just really funny. But Yeah, I just thought this game was gorgeous, honestly. Just visually, it looked so cool. Like, they have 2D, have 3D stuff. The music. This game just so took me by surprise to every degree, especially as someone coming and playing the newer games. What else, too? I haven't really played Black 2 and White 2 that much. I have kind of chipped away at them a little bit. I believe I'm up to the point with, I think, I haven't played in a little while, but I think the point I got up to was where you have just beaten Berg in Castelia City. And so I've kind of gotten into a bit of it, but I believe Burbank City it was with, what's her name? Why am I thinking her name was Roxy? I don't know if it is. It might be. It might not be. But like her little like gym where she has like where she's like performing with like her friends and stuff. Like I thought that was really funny and like they were like singing and stuff. Or then like the whole like movie theater production thing. I thought that was really unique. Like I didn't check it out that much, but I was like, wow, this is like really something, isn't it? But I mean, in a good way, of course. But the whole game just took me by surprise. As I said, I haven't finished Black 2, White 2. I probably will eventually. I might chip away at it, but so please don't spoil, like, just because I like to go through the stuff blind. You know, hopefully nobody spoils it, but who knows. But I think that's really everything. Unless there's anything more, I'll throw it in. But if not, then I will move on to my conclusion. So I guess this is where I wrap up, honestly. I think my only one little note I had is that the only thing I wasn't terribly fond of with the game was, I guess just the limited Pokédex and just the fact that you really only get access to, like, everyone in Unova. I mean, I understand why they did that, and it makes sense, but if you know a thing or two about me and how I played this game, then, you know, this wasn't a huge critique of mine just because I kind of molded around playing my game the way I do, but I think that's really everything. Like, as I said, Black and White for me was kind of just how I played, but it just felt like such a gorgeous game in my opinion. I just really wanted to talk about it just because, as I say, I don't really talk much about like battles and stuff. For me, it's more so like how visually is this game good? How's the music? How's the art? How's the direction? Like, that's what I really wanted to come on and discuss. So I think that's everything, and I guess this is where I kind of open up the floor to anyone else who wants to discuss this. So, you know, between Generation 10, between the fact that we're probably going to be getting a Gen 5 remake sometime in the near future, considering their patterns with how they kind of release remakes, you know, what do you expect? You know, are you expecting them to like keep the game as it was, or do you expect them to kind of try and modernize it? You know, are you expecting like a, you know, a graphical remake classic to the game, or do you kind of expect like another Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl like flop? You know, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. If you think, you know, hopefully that, you know, if Pokemon will try to do stuff differently for Gen 10, if they won't, like, you know, I'm just curious, you know, if you have any thoughts. So I think that's everything, honestly. And if that's all, then I think I will see you in the next upload. So bye-bye.